right, guys, welcome back to Between Rounds today. We got a special guest, my old buddy from the Gracie Academy days, Mr. Chris Brennan.
How are you, bud?
I'm good. I like the shirt, the OG of no-gi.
Yeah. Brandon Quick.
I wish I had
the name. and I was like, how did no one come up with that before?
No, because you're pretty good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Like Next Generation is such a great name. I was just thinking about that. It'll come up later. You know, we're talking about teaching and stuff. But were you had the no-gi brand early in California.
Yeah.
And that was NG. And then your school was NG too. Was that connected?
No. My school I opened in 98 and no-gi wasn't until like 2003.
Oh, okay.
And the Next Generation thing, I had a guy even tell me, a business guy at my gym, and he's like, yeah, I don't like the NG. It's negative. You know, too many bad things come off of the NG. And I was like, listen, bro, like it's Next Generation. If someone shortens it, they shorten it. But Next Generation MMA, and it worked out to be even better because my kids do what they do now, so they are the actual Next Generation. But it was Next Generation because I took the gi off and I was the first no-gi guy. Yeah. And I just wanted to be like the next generation of jiu-jitsu, the next phase. And now I got so blackballed from everybody, but now it's a huge thing that.
I always love the name though. Like every time I heard it, like that's a badass name for a gym. Yours, and I love Balance for Phil and Ricky. Yep. Like Balance is such a cool name. Yeah. So anyway, I was thinking about that when I saw it because you're pushing it was an NG brand too with no-gi and then Next Generation. Anyway, I digress. So we've known each other since 1995. Yep. Is that right? Yeah. And we started at the Gracie Academy I think you were there a little bit before me.
I might have been. I'd been in Brazil for most of 95. Yeah. And then came back and was, I forget months wise when I got to the Gracie Academy, but I was there for the end of 95 and part of 96.
How long were you there for? I was trying to remember and I can't remember exactly.
Not super long, less than 2 years. Yeah. Only because, we can get into when I left, why I left, but when I left, Mark Lehman left, Lowell left, Ethan left, Avi, the guy with the money who put up the money for Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu, we all left on the same day, basically.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, man, Lowell was a great instructor.
His kids are studs now, too.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. I've had them both come through. No, that's not true. I had the older one come through the lab. I've met the younger one several times. And it's always good to see Lowell. I'm always excited. Lowell doesn't get too excited.
I've not seen Lowell. And it was a bummer, too, because Lucas has fought on a couple cards that, was it Elias or Laird?
Laird, probably.
Yeah, had fought on Bellator cards, and I didn't get to see him there. I was like,
Yeah, I always told him the same thing when he came through. I was like, man, I loved your dad. He was instrumental, like a kind of an OG tough guy for me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Didn't say much, but he would get after it on the mat.
Chip on the shoulder for sure.
Yeah, he was ready to go for sure. So tell me what do you remember about the Gracie Academy days? I remember, I was thinking about stories to talk about with this. I remember Royce walking on his hands, and he had us all in there trying to walk on our hands. And nobody could do it, right? Yeah. And then you're sitting there watching, and you leaned over. I don't know if it was to me, but it feels like it was. You go, watch this. Royce got down about halfway down the floor. You jumped up and ran down the floor on your hands. Yeah. He was not happy. No. He wanted to win that contest.
Yeah, I didn't. I felt like me and him, like I was always the guy who asked him who punched you the hardest, who did this, the questions that everyone was like, don't ask that. Like, because he was such the guy at the time. Yeah. And I just wanted to be I'm going to be a fighter as well. Yeah. We're going to be like, I'll respect you and you're my teacher, whatever. But at the same time, I'm going to communicate with you like we're humans and not like you're a god.
Yeah. Like I felt like that was not the case for me. I kind of drank the Kool-Aid, and I look back on it. I'm not super happy about it. I mean, it's led me to where I am, so, it's good. But I remember thinking that about you, is that, like, you were on a little bit of a different pathway. Did you feel like that from this time you came in?
No. I mean, I thought he was the greatest thing in the world, and same with Hickson. Me and Lehman used to sit and watch Choke over and over and over again. Yeah. But then the more time we're there, the more I was just like, man, we are paying $650 a month to be in this instructor program that we have to be at, that we have to clean the toilets and the showers, and we have to assist in the classes. And we also, me and him had to pay, because neither one of us were from right there. We had to pay. We lived in a hotel room the whole time.
Right.
We took the couches and everything out and
On
matted
PCH.
the
I
living
remember
room.
that whole place.
Yeah. We matted. We had a time where Comprito and Leo Vieira and we had the craziest dudes come in and roll in our hotel room.
Holy cow!
During when Worlds were here, but yeah, it was cultish, and once me and him got to talking, it was just like, well, I'm gonna continue to learn, because Horian was a great teacher. He was a BSer, but he's a great teacher.
Yeah.
Royce was great on the mat, at the time. And so I was like, I was a blue belt. I clearly have a lot to learn from them, so I'm going to. And then but at the same time, I was going to fight, and I had fought before that already. And I fought in Brazil. And then one day I signed to fight Miletich in Extreme Battlecade, yeah, the one that didn't happen.
The John Lewis one.
Yes.
Okay.
And John Peretti was matchmaking and running it. And I signed. Actually, I wasn't even supposed to fight him yet. I was going to be an alternate to fight him, Eric Paulson, Matt Hume, and Kenny Monday.
That's a pretty good little bracket to be part of.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And so I was an alternate. And on the next weight class up, Carlos Newton was the alternate for John Lober, Igor Zinoviev, Kevin Jackson, and one other person, I forget who it was. But I'm glad I didn't get to come in and fight that night, at least against Kenny Monday, because they were very surprising. Like, they didn't know jiu-jitsu, but they knew how to not be jiu-jitsu'd in those fights.
Right.
And both guys, it's weird too, because I feel like wrestling went backwards after that for a while, and were able to get on top and dominate a little bit, but not do the damage that those two guys did. And they didn't do much after that, neither one of them.
Yeah.
But anyway, I signed to fight Pat. Once that event happened, Monty Cox put on Extreme Challenge in Iowa and asked me to fight him because I was the alternate in that tournament. So I said yes. So before the fight happens, I get called up to Horian's office. The speaker, Chris Brennan, to Horian's office. I was like, oh shit,
that's never good.
So I went up there, and he said, you have a fight coming up? And I said, yeah. And he said, do they know you're training here? And I said, I don't know. I mean, everyone kind of knows where I train.
Yeah.
There's only so many places you could train back then. And he goes, I need to see the contract. And I was like, I don't have one, but when I get one, I'll show it to you. And he goes, okay, you can't be fighting representing Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I was like, okay. I said, well, we can fight here for you in challenge matches. I fought in Brazil, shared a locker room with Hoyler and your father, and represented jiu-jitsu down there. I said, but I'm going to represent jiu-jitsu because that's what I do, but I didn't say anything about being at the Gracie Academy. And he just told me that he wasn't going to let it happen if it mentioned them, and I said it doesn't. And then a poster came out, and I showed it to him, and he just basically told me there's going to be one fighter in this building, and it's not you. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to leave. And at the same time, me and Mark were already on the fence, and Avi Rubin, I don't know if you remember Avi. He was just
I don't remember him.
He was a regular student, blue belt guy, Jewish guy, had a bunch of money. And he said, hey, let's go open a gym. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, let's go open a gym. So we all left, went to Beverly Hills, found this building, opened Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu. And before I left, and I've told this story a couple times, I'm getting ready to leave, and Sam Rand calls me in his office and says, hey, he goes, what are you doing? And I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to fight. Like, the reason I signed up here was to fight, not to learn jiu-jitsu, not to open a gym. Right now, my goal is to fight. And I said, down the line, I would like to be an instructor and teach and open a gym. And he goes, Chris Brennan Jiu-Jitsu, fuck me, who's going to come there? And I said, well,
Holy shit.
that's all the motivation I needed for the rest of my life,
Thank you.
And I left and, I went and trained at the Beverly Hills gym for a while. And then I took some privates in Laguna Niguel by my house. Mark Eckert was down there and Dave Kama, and I was able to train with them some. And then I opened my first gym as a blue belt.
Mark Eckert was a Hickson black belt, right?
Yeah, not yet. They were both brown, but they later got.
Yeah, my brother trained. My brother was a cop in Orange County. He trained with Mark Eckert.
Mark was a stud.
Yeah, he did privates out of his garage. Is that right?
They're in a racquetball court.
That's right. Yeah, that's cool. Well, I didn't know that. I knew you wanted to fight, and I knew that those things weren't happening where we were. I mean, with Royce, they were to a limited extent, but none of the students. I remember Mike Rose getting in some pretty big trouble for wanting to do a jiu-jitsu tournament once.
Yeah.
And crazy.
Do you remember what happened when they did the in-house thing with the Machados?
Yeah. I wasn't there because I was working. I was back home.
Yeah.
But I heard it didn't go good.
Right. And it opened a lot of people's eyes. I was shocked. I wasn't shocked at the difference between the two, but I was shocked that the Gracies let them do it.
Yeah.
Because it really opened a lot of people's eyes. And then, Kaiki would be showing something and Jorge would be like, you can't show that. I'm like, what do you mean you can't show that? So when Kaiki left, a lot of people went with him.
Yeah.
And I just, it wasn't cult-like-ish. It was definitely a cult.
Yeah. And it's weird because I don't think of it. I'd never thought of it like that. Right. The thing I enjoyed the most maybe is Horian was such a great teacher.
Yep.
Like it was literally like watching a magic show mixed with jiu-jitsu. And
Have you seen anybody sell a backpack that turns into a sweatshirt?
I have seen that, and I don't watch those things anymore.
Right.
So.
But they can talk, right?
Yes.
They're the same as Horian, and they can speak so well. That's what I was in awe of that. I would watch him teach a class and be like, God, the way he comes across to people and everyone that walks in the door and, everyone's his friend. I'm like, is everyone his friend? It took me a long time to catch on, but not as long as others. And so, the more I paid attention to it, it was just like he's an attorney. He speaks really well, and
he's an actor too.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was a good teacher, as far as breaking down details of one thing, but he wasn't going to get you to the advanced stuff. And I wasn't in a rush to not learn basics, but once I realized he was only going to show like the key lock on the left side for 6 months and then the key lock on the right side later, I was like, come on. And so, I wanted to pick up the pace and
so you went you went to Beverly Hills, but I wanted to ask you, you've talked a lot, opened up about your early childhood and how you had to move around a lot and it wasn't ideal. And I really didn't know that when I knew you. Yeah. I just thought of you as a scrapper. You whooped my ass all the time. And loved playing with you.
It's a lie.
It's not that big of a lie. It might even be fact. I just remember I didn't know. I had taken boxed a little bit, wrestled a little bit, did a little bit of everything, and we weren't really encouraged to do MMA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like jiu-jitsu's enough. And I remember being in the training room with you and Mark and whoever, and just seeing you mix the things together. It was a different thing. So. I did get my ass whipped. Let's just put it out there.
The first day that happened, not that happened, but Royce came downstairs one day and told everyone to take off their gi tops, and we were going to go with open hand strikes and roll. And my blue belt turned into a brown belt. I realized, oh man, I sat back against the wall after I'd gone with some people who beat me in a gi regularly. Right. And I was like, God, that was great. I felt like I did a fantastic job. And then I did another round, and then I was hanging with guys that normally I couldn't. And my jiu-jitsu was better. I felt like my jiu-jitsu was better. And then I was like, I don't want to put that thing back on.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to fight in it. And so I feel like that's where I really kind of
opened your eyes to what could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're young. And you're moving around a lot. Tell me about that. I didn't know that about you. So when I was doing research for this, it kind of surprised me. It kind of opened, I thought some things, and you're such a tough guy, you're so independent. But anyway, tell me about growing up.
Yeah, so I had 4 dads by the time I was 7, and like adopted last names 4 times by the time I was 7, and then lived in, I want to say 19. I have it written down somewhere, but 19 houses or 18 houses in 17 years of living at home. And I went to 9 schools in 9 years. I dropped out of school as a freshman in high school, but I'd gone to 9 schools up to 9th grade. And so it was,
Is this with your same mom?
Same mom.
Wow.
Same mom. And then same dad from 7 on until, I moved out. But yeah, I was just, and I hate to use it as an excuse for anything. I definitely feel like I got some positives from it, but my older brother, he wasn't a jackass like me. He partied, he was dumb a little longer, but didn't do like I was.
Dumber.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, I was breaking into houses. I was stealing cars. I was from the time I was 14, 15, and 16, I did cocaine every single day.
Holy cow.
And every day. And would do whatever it took to get it. Robbed our drug dealer. Like I was a crazy young kid. And then one day I'm walking from the gym, from my house to a girl's house with an ounce of coke in my pocket. And there was a gym, Family Fitness, which later became 24-Hour Fitness. And it had a half door. And the top half was open. And I leaned in and kind of was watching. And there was a young, jacked guy. And he came over and talked to me for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and told me he was a wrestler. And I was like, awesome, and I left and I threw the ounce of coke in the gutter.
Wow.
And I bought a membership the next day, never did cocaine again the rest of my life, and started bodybuilding. I started lifting weights, then bodybuilding left to bouncing, and then bouncing, the first UFC came on TV, and here we are. But I was just, I walked in on someone close to me doing coke, and instead of saying, hey, don't do that, it was, here, try this. And so I tried it, and from that point on, I was doing it and selling it literally at 14 years old. And I was surfing and doing drugs, coke, not even any other drugs. I've literally never done another drug in my life, never smoked weed in my life. But I was doing that at the youngest. When Lucas turned 14 years old, and I literally cried because I was just like, I can't even imagine him having the life that I had that led up to 14 years old or 16 years old, and doing what I did. It was wild. It was like, oh my God, thank goodness I turned out to be different, and then raised him obviously different as well.
Yeah, and this was all in Southern California?
Yeah.
How do you, man, like what an incredible sense of independence and reliance on yourself it seems to have gotten you. I mean, that's a terrible way to get it, but
sure,
hard times breed good men, as they say. And like, do you remember anything about those days moving around early?
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get hit enough. I have a great memory about everything when I was a kid.
I was thinking about something else, and I was like, okay, you're talking about CTE now. I
wasn't talking about it. I didn't get beat up by my parents. My mom whipped my ass a couple times against the oven, close fist. But other than that, I didn't. And my mom even told me when I first started fighting that I don't have a pain tolerance to fight.
She said you didn't?
Yeah. And I was like, if one more person could give me any more motivation, these people are just carrying me through my life with all the motivation I need to become successful at something, I was just like, okay.
Do you think that gave you a need to prove yourself?
Sure.
That upbringing? I mean, the story you just described is something people don't work out of. That's a spiral down.
And I did it like that.
That's amazing.
I threw it away, and I don't know if I was on it or not on it at the moment, but I was about to be. And threw it away and never looked back. I had been around it after that multiple times and just had zero interest in doing it again, and just never did.
Did you ever do any other sports You surfed. That takes an incredible amount of athleticism. People that are good at that kind of body awareness, balance.
I was decent at surfing. I surfed. I raced motorcycles, dirt bikes. I played like 3 years of soccer and baseball when I was young, like young, but that's it.
Did you ever do any gymnastics?
I did gymnastics. Sorry, I did gymnastics for a long time.
I was going to say, because the way you ran across the floor and your hand's still stuck in my memory.
Yeah, I did gymnastics for probably 8 to 10 years. When we moved into this one house, I was probably 9 and 9 or 10, and the neighbors across the street, one of them was a gymnast and really good, and they had a huge trampoline in their backyard. So he taught me, by the time I was 12, how to do a standing back tuck. We moved to 3 different houses in the same neighborhood within the 3 years, so I got to see them the whole time.
That's nice that there was some consistency there, right?
Yeah. And so he taught me how to do a standing back tuck, which I did after every win in my career, and stuff like that. But yeah, I did gymnastics at school, at SCATS in Huntington Beach, and then my freshman year until I stopped going.
Yeah. You said that you stopped going in 9th grade. Did you ever go back? Did you ever do any more schooling, or that was a wrap?
So I stopped going. I think I finished the year of 9th grade, didn't go back. 2 years later, when I would have been 2 or 3 years later, I would have been a junior or senior. We moved to Laguna Hills, and I tried to go, and I don't know what happened. So this is the point in time where I was selling drugs, moved to Laguna Hills, and something happened at a party. I don't remember the guy. I remember the guy, but I don't remember what happened. But I'm now sitting at lunch, and this guy comes from the side of me and just wham, and blasts me in the side of the head and runs off the campus. Well, I chased him off the campus all the way to the grocery store across the street, beat him up. Well, I got kicked out of school again, and I was already coming in there on like probation from not being in school and whatnot. And I only had the credits to be in 9th grade, but I was hanging out with all my friends to be, that were juniors and seniors. And so I got kicked out of there and sent to a continuation school. I think I went there 2 times, and that was all. My mom would drop me off at school in the morning, and by the time she would get home, my books would be on the porch, and my surfboard would be gone.
You beat her home?
Yeah. So I was never into school. As far as I love to learn, but I was just never into the school and the teachers and whatnot.
Well, I always noticed that in Jiu-Jitsu, the time we were together, you loved learning stuff.
Yeah.
And you seem like a really good student.
I love teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started just teaching my brothers how to tie their shoes, and then teaching them things throughout, time, and then teaching jiu-jitsu, especially if I've got a group of people that really want to learn. I love teaching.
That is so fun when you get people good enough that you can kind of go off the beaten path and talk about, hey, this works for this guy, how come? Or in this situation, it works for you, but it doesn't quite work for me.
Right.
Those little hidden details, which I think Horian was really strong in.
Yeah.
In teaching wise, I love that stuff. It's really where the magic is for me. So,
I tried to go back 2 months ago and teach the kids class because our kids program was struggling a little bit.
So hard,
bro.
So hard.
I was 4 classes, I think, and I was like, I cannot do this. At this point in my career,
Nope.
You have to know something. and I have an intro class of guys that lead into my class at my gym. And some of the times I'll go back to Garrett that runs the intro class. I'm like, bro, did he finish the intro class?
Yeah.
How did he get out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's everyone's different,
Yeah.
But if I'm showing one thing and then they're just doing something completely different, I'm like, are you doing that on purpose? You don't respect what I'm showing, or you really don't know what we're doing.
You're testing me, aren't you?
A rear naked choke is not a leg lock.
It's the same part of the body, right? No. So you look over that half door, you start lifting weights.
Yeah.
Where are you bouncing when you find the UFC? Was it the first UFC?
Yes. A place called Mazzotti's in Newport Beach, Huntington Beach. There and Margaritaville. Margaritaville, at Mazzotti's, Chemo worked at, and at Margaritaville, Todd Medina worked at. And me and Todd became very, very good friends. And I got in a lot of fights. I got in a lot of fights growing up, period. But I got in a lot of fights up until that point. And he came outside, and I was in the front yard or the front of the place on someone's back with my hooks in, choking him. And he came and saw me, and we went back inside. Well, when we went back inside, UFC 1's on television. And so we watched it, and I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, these guys are fighting and getting paid and not getting arrested.
Nobody's chasing them afterwards.
Sign me up. And then I watched Royce, and I'm just like, who the fuck is this guy? You know? And by the third fight, I was like, oh, he's going to beat that guy. I watched the first 3. He fought 4 people that night.
Yep.
Or I think 3 the first night, 4 the second UFC. And I was just like, he's going to beat that guy. And then he did. Well, crazy story. I started training with a guy, trained with John De La O, trained with Ken Gabrielson, trained with a lot of guys in the Huntington Beach, Newport Beach area. And then I met Joe San at Powerhouse Gym in Huntington Beach. And there was a guy named Randy Ziegler. Randy was taking privates from Hickson and coming back and coaching chemo.
Wow.
Yeah. That's like so many people don't know. That's how in 30 seconds into that fight, chemo was on Royce's back with his hooks in, and Royce was scrambling to get out. But back up a little bit, he would go do that, come back, and you know how big chemo is. Chemo start mounted on Chris, start striking Chris, get out. And I would just get my face bashed in trying to get out. I'd shoot on him, and he'd guillotine me off the ground, and my feet would be in the air. And
he's a big, strong cat.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything yet. But I knew I wanted to fight, and he was massive, like 260. And so come UFC 3, we are in, we show up to the hotel. Well, Hickson and Royce and everyone's walking by, chemo's walking by with Randy Ziegler.
Oh.
And Hickson went like that, and then everything clicked. Melee in the lobby of the hotel. So that's how chemo got pretty good. He wasn't even good. I think he got worse once he got better at jiu-jitsu because the athleticism and the explosive and the what is the white belt going to do, kind of went away, and it calmed him down a little bit. So he might have gotten, again, better later, but when he first started learning jiu-jitsu under Joe Moreira, I think he got worse for fighting for a little while,
Well, definitely you start thinking more, and you're less reactive, less physical, when sometimes those guys are the toughest guys to deal with.
All right, tell people, all my white belts, and it's not for any reason, they all stay to the right side of my room, and all the upper belts stay to the left side. And I'll tell people, I said, the right side of the room is the most dangerous side of the room, period.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Not even close. The black belts are good and dangerous. It's nothing like that side of the room.
So you started with who? Who's your first guy? You walked in?
I walked in to a place called South Coast Martial Arts in Costa Mesa. John De La O was teaching jiu-jitsu there.
Wow.
And a guy named Bill Holland was a JKD guy teaching boxing there. And they said, I told him, I want to fight in the UFC. I said, I look back at that now to the people who come in and tell me that now, but I really planned on fighting in the UFC.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, put on some boxing gloves and get in the ring. So I got in the ring with this kid named Seneca. He ended up winning the Junior Olympics later. But 16 seconds, my nose is across my face. So my nose, it's fixed now, but my nose, my whole career, septum, everything that was bashed was from my first 16 seconds of training in MMA. And it was just boxing. But so I trained there. I learned the key lock. I learned some things from them. And then and then me and Todd were friends. Todd was training under Ken Gabrielson. So I went and started training under Ken Gabrielson for a year or two. I cornered Todd in UFC 5. And then...
wow. Hey, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I cornered Todd in UFC 5. And I was with another guy named Rudy Moncayo in UFC 6, but only because we happened to be in Casper, Wyoming for the UFC, and he was there with nobody.
Oh, geez.
So Todd was there, and
You're
me
at
and
the
Todd
UFC
jumped
with
in.
no corner.
Yeah, crazy. Me and Todd jumped in and cornered him. He ended up getting beat up by Patrick Smith. But anyway, so a lot of people don't know. From once I left the Gracie Academy, I went to Beverly Hills for less than a year. I then went back and trained with Mark and those guys a little bit. And then I brought my friend here from Brazil, who I'd met when I was over there in Roger Brooking, and did privates with him every single day. We did privates every day for a year.
How did you go? You started with those guys, De La O, and then you went to Brazil from there?
So in that time, I had met Mark and Dave Kama, Mark Eckert and Dave Kama.
Yep.
Because they lived by my parents where I was at. So I was doing a little bit of privates with them, and I told them that I was interested in going to Brazil. And this guy there, he said, "Hey, my brother teaches at a gym there. You know, I can set you up." I was like, "Do it." So he gives me this guy's information. I send him a message, you know, and work it out. I packed 4 duffel bags, got on a plane, flew to Brazil, and walked in and slept on the mat in a gym, 2 different gyms for a year. And yeah, it was wild. I was supposed to have 10 grand, and I was going to be there for a month and do as many privates as I could and train as much as I could. Well, I was uneducated at the moment, and $1 US was 7 real, so I had 70 grand.
Oh.
So I stayed for a year and just trained it the whole year and did privates. And
because you came to the academy after that.
Yeah.
And you were pretty good already. I mean, that intensive training, like it showed, at least in my young eyes, my inexperienced eyes.
I felt like I was above average at every level in jiu-jitsu when I was, you know, just athleticism, I'm sure helped. And I didn't do anything else. That's literally all I did.
Yeah.
You know? So I feel like especially once the gi came off, I know I was hitting helicopter arm bars on Fabiano Iha in Marco Huas's garage as a blue belt.
Wow.
And he was a black belt already.
That's the Southern California MMA scene is pretty wild. There's a lot of really good people. Yeah. Just, you'd walk down the street in somebody's garage, you know. Right. Fabiano Iha is in the garage with somebody.
Marco Huas's garage. Like, so what I was getting back to, as a blue belt, once I opened my gym as a blue belt, I didn't have another teacher from then. I didn't watch people's videos. I literally just trained jiu-jitsu every day with Jeremy Williams, who was my student, and he was my first black belt, but we trained every day. And I've got video footage of us with the clock in the background starting at 1 o'clock in the morning and going until 3:30 in the morning and just training at the gym. So my first gym closed after 6 months, but it was only for me and him and a couple of our buddies because no one showed up. No one knew what no-gi jiu-jitsu was yet. Yeah. You know, and I had a beautiful gym, beautiful setup, and I probably end up with 30 students.
Where was that? Where was it?
In South Orange County, Mission Viejo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
my brother was there. His family is from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was there for a short time, moved into the garage in my apartment complex, and I was able to rent out. There was 3 garage doors, but if you open them, it was 1 inside. So I rented all 3 out, and I started teaching. So I got 60 students in my apartment complex garage.
Wow.
And then I opened a new gym, and from that point on.
What was that called?
Next Generation.
I love it.
Yeah,
I knew
since day one.
I heard you talked about that story, but you didn't say the name. So it's been Next Generation since the beginning.
Yeah. So my friend Roger, the Brazilian that was here, he was a brown belt from Jacare, Master Romero Cavalcante.
Yeah.
And from Alliance. And
he's here in Vegas now, right?
He was in Atlanta. I don't know where. He's somewhere else now, but right. He was in Atlanta for a long time. But me and him were going to open together because he was the higher belt guy. And when I told him, and he wanted to be new generation, and when I told him that I wanted to be all no-gi, he's like, you're crazy. And I was like, nah, you know, and then we kind of had a little, not an argument, but just like, okay, go ahead, but I'm not going to be part of it.
Right.
So now here I am at blue belt, opening this gym, all no-gi, Next Generation, you know, at the time Fighting Academy, because there was no such thing as MMA yet. There was no word MMA yet.
Yeah.
And then, you know, went from there.
Well, how did you get I never knew that. That's pretty cool. Some really amazing names that you came across in that Southern California scene.
Oh, yeah. So Marco had just moved there, and I wanted to train with him for striking. So I had hit him up, and he said, yeah, I'll come over and give you a private tomorrow at your gym. So he comes over, and you know what he looks like. He's 6'2", 6'3", 240.
Yeah.
Beats the shit out of me. And Jeremy is sitting on the couch like this, kind of laughing and like, oh my God, at the same time. And then right when I think we're done, we were just boxing. Right when I think we're done, he goes, okay, put on shin pads. And we went some more. And he just, I mean, I was laying on my bathroom floor sobbing. And then he left, and I messaged him. I said, you want to train tomorrow? And he's like, are you crazy? And so I trained with him every day for a couple of years, and just did, you know, a lot of MMA stuff.
Yeah.
And it put me in the position where I was able to walk people down, because what are you going to do to me that this guy doesn't, you know? So I was able to pressure more and walk people down, just because I wasn't intimidated by it as much. And you know, I ended up having a lot of fights, you know. Yeah. I stayed busy, and but it was hard because I was the owner of my gym, and I didn't have another coach, and I didn't have bodies besides the ones I created. You know, so it would take like round robins of third time through before anything's happening to me.
Start to get trouble. Yeah. Do you feel like you had anybody coach you in your career?
No.
That's
coach
amazing.
me like again from blue belt on. No.
Wow.
No.
And so you had most of your fighting career.
Striking wise, yes. I brought in Pete Spratt later and trained with Pete for years, and he helped me tremendously in striking. But for grappling, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, no. Russ Mira, one of my black belts, phenomenal wrestler, would help me, you know, in wrestling through my fights and stuff as well. But
do you feel like you missed anything with that, or are you happy with that? Because there's a power in that too.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like for MMA, for jiu-jitsu, no. Because I feel like I got really good at finding out what works and what doesn't work by doing it over and over and over again, live in a cage, in a jiu-jitsu match, in my room, you know, and I was able to weed out the bullshit and keep the solid stuff. So I got to a point where if I lock up a Kimura on your arm, there's a 99% chance I'm going to finish it, you know, and same with my guillotine. And so I just kind of worked the strengths out. I'm a one-sided guy. I'm a Kimura your left arm, armbar your left or right arm, inside heel hook your left right leg, outside your right leg. You know, my rear naked choke is with one arm, my guillotine's on one side, and I became very good. If I pass your guard to the right side, your left, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna windshield wipe to the other side just so I can attack that arm, because I'm a blue belt on that arm,
right,
but I'm a red belt on that arm,
right?
You know, so I took that 10,000 hour rule and split it. If you're doing gi and no gi, you're already splitting that in half. Then if you're doing both sides of the body, you're already splitting that in half. So everything is getting watered down as far as what you could really be good at and master. And so when I took the gi off, 100% that. And then I started attacking the body parts one at a time on one side and getting 10,000 hours at that. You know, so I feel like I got very proficient in doing stuff that way. So I think a coach would have told me not to do that, right?
Yeah, probably so.
A teacher. And I tell my students, I'm not going to tell you that. I tell people at seminars, you know, your coach is probably going to be mad at me for saying this. I'm one-sided on everything. You know, if he tells you to drill both sides, drill both sides. But I got really good at drilling one side really well.
Yeah.
And so I feel like as far as that goes, no, I don't feel like I missed out on that. As far as MMA goes, I feel like I would love to have someone like you back then, like John Wood back then, you know, like me now back then. To have an MMA coach for my fighting career, because I was BJ Penn. I had a lot of yes people. Yeah. All my students. Fuck, I'm getting ready to walk out to fight Antonio McKee. We knew he was slippery. Everyone said he was slick that trained with him. I knew some black belts that roll with him. And I was like, what do you think if I fight in a t-shirt? Sure, yeah, go ahead. So now I've got this beautiful head kick knockout wearing a fucking t-shirt. Right? So but that's all because I only had yes men in my corner. And I don't mean to put them down. They were my students, they were my friends, they're my brothers, you know. But someone like me or you as a coach, you know, would have made a big difference in my fighting career.
Right.
And you know, I don't even know if there was a lot of traveling to train at places, but I didn't get to go anywhere and train besides Big Bear with my guys to get ready for fights. I never had anybody, you know, like, for example, we're at Syndicate today, you know, and Lucas has 5-6 guys in his weight class in the UFC to train with. You know,
Right.
it's just different now.
Yeah, it is different. You kind of had to do it as, I don't know, it's a pretty amazing path that you've been on, though. What's your first fight? Tell me about your first fight.
My first fight was set up by Joson. I think we were in Alabama. Fought a guy that was 215 pounds. Like, there was no weight classes. I think I rear naked choked him. My first 3 fights, I think, were like that. Were just like Joe would take us somewhere and fight. And then my fourth fight was in Brazil. And while I'm down there, they come up to me and say, "Hey, you want to fight Vale Tudo?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Okay." I'm a blue belt again. Still, jiu-jitsu hasn't lost. Okay, they've still won everything. We're walking down the street to the beach the next day, and there's a poster on the pole with my name on it against a guy.
Nice.
And I was like, they just asked me this yesterday.
Right.
There's a poster here. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And then I fought on a card. Comprito and Leo did grappling matches. And then me, Muzio DeAngelis, who is a ref at IBJJF now, Saulo fought MMA. Me, Saulo, this guy Sahusa, and I forget who the third or the fourth person was. It was 4 MMA fights, 4 grappling fights, and Henzo was the ref.
Really?
Yeah. And so I leading up to it, we're training all no-gi, so I'm successful again. And the guy's like, "Hey, no turning back now." I'd walk down the street, people hit me in the shoulder, "No turning back now." You know, I'm just like, oh my God. And then as I walk out, Hoyler's in the back with Saulo, and I'm with Jacare and Leo and those guys. And we're walking out, and Elio's right there at the front row. And I'm just like, oh my God, man. If there's ever a fight in my entire 36 professional fights where I had pressure, it was this fight, you know, and I guillotined him in 30 seconds.
Nice.
It was jiu-jitsu versus kickboxing, and this guy shot on me, and I guillotined him, and I was like, that's it. It's over.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what a bunch of legends to do that in front of.
Yeah, it was a fantastic Tijuca Tennis Club. Like, it's where so many great fights and jiu-jitsu matches and stuff had happened before that. So it was very cool.
Well, after that, you fought the trilogy with Pat Miletich, right? Or at least 2 of the trilogy.
Yeah, I came back. Right when I got back is when I got offered the fight. So I fought Pat 3 times in 6 months. So I got offered Pat right when I got back. We fought to a 20-minute draw, 1 round, and then in a baseball stadium in Iowa outside.
You fought him twice in his hometown.
Yeah. 2 months later, because we had a 20-minute draw and we started talking trash to each other, 2 months later, I came back and we fought 1 30-minute round, and I lost a split decision. And the way they laid out the scoring was striking, grappling, and aggressiveness. Well, I cut him in the first punch of the fight. I threw punches. He got a takedown. I was the only one throwing punches. I cut him, and so he was trying to land punches, and he was landing. I mean, it was a half hour. It was a half hour.
Something's gonna land.
Yeah, stuff landed, but it was just 9 minutes in. We're still on the ground, and I took my thumb and started digging in the cut. I was trying to open his cut up. And he goes, "That's a pussy way to win a fight, Brennan." I was like, "Well, so's laying on top of me, bro. Let's go." Let's. And I wasn't as a blue belt at the time, and he was a very good wrestler, solid jiu-jitsu. He was just solid all around. He made it very difficult. He's probably my most difficult fight in my career, as far as he makes you fight his fight.
Yeah.
And he was great at it. Not crazy exciting, just great at that. So I lose a split decision, and 2 months later, John Peretti hits me up. "Hey, you want to be an alternate in the UFC coming up?" And I said, "Yes." And it was Miletich, Mikey Burnett, Townsend Saunders, and Eugenio Terao, Brazilian guy.
Wow. He's the guy that fought Hoyler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tough guy.
Yeah. So I go and I have a fight anyway. So me and this kid, Courtney Turner, Luta Livre guy, fight first. And I end up armbarring him from the bottom, hanging from his head, hanging from his head on my head. And then I went back up, and I'm thinking, it's a 4-man tournament. No one's getting hurt in one fight. You know, everyone's gonna continue to the second fight. So I go back up. I'm fucking eating hot dogs. I'm chilling in the stands, and then I watch Mikey Burnett and Eugenio fight, and they are murdering each other. Mikey's beating him up, but they were beating each other up bad. And I'm like, God, I wonder if I should go check in. So I get up and I go down the bleachers because I'm sitting in the stadium. I go down to go underneath and go behind. And as I'm walking behind, Peretti's running down the hallway. Brennan, start warming up. And I was like, oh, fuck. All right, I'm going to get the fight, which was cool because it was going to make my money. I was only fighting for $2,000 as the alternate, but in the tournament now, $10,000 to lose, $20,000 to win. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to get paid. So I start warming up, and then I think, oh, fuck, I'm fighting Miletich again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about it, who I was fighting. And, you know, probably one of the biggest things I tell my kids too is have micro goals, but also have macro goals. And my micro goal, which was my macro at the time, was get to the UFC.
Fight in the UFC.
Yeah. And hear John McCarthy say, let's get it on. Well, he didn't. He wasn't the alternate ref.
Oh, he wasn't?
No. But now he is. And he comes out and he looks left, he looks right. This is for the UFC lightweight championship. Are you ready? And I was like, it is? Let's get it on. And you know, we had a basically the same fight we always had. You know, he was on top. You know, I couldn't wrestle yet. And I was working my jiu-jitsu from the bottom, and he's trying to put me on the fence. I'm walking out the fence, and sure, he gets a hold of the fence and drops his shoulder underneath me. And you can hold the fence back then, and starts choking me. And I bumped once and turned. I'm a blue belt. I turned into the choke. And I was like, and I went to turn back. There was no turning back. And now I'm lifting and you see my hands. And I'm trying to push. I'm like, fuck. And I end up having to tap. And I was so disappointed in that because it was a terrible performance for and a shitty thing to tap to, especially, you know, I think I tapped to 2 subs my whole career. One was a footlock in Japan that lasted for a year after that.
Yeah.
And
still limp now, getting out of bed.
Yeah. You know, and it was just frustrating. And yeah, that was that.
For the lightweight championship, was that at 155?
170. That was the lightweights back then. They didn't have 55 yet. So that later turned into welterweight, and they added lightweight at 55.
What do you think your best weight would have been if they
65?
had? Yeah.
60, 65? I don't know. 70. I mean, I was a lot bigger, but I'm short. So I was walking at like 190, fighting at 170, and I'm 174 right now. You know, I made the cut to 55 like 5 or 6 times, but it was very difficult. And I don't feel like I performed well. The difference in the Miletich fights, the first 2 times we fought, we were both 185. We walked in and just fought at our weight, and we were 185. The third fight in the UFC was at 170. I'd never cut weight before. So I was training at 170 for weeks before the fight. Oh. And on fight day, they literally carried him to the scale. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking kill him this time, you know? And on fight night, I was still 170 and he was 185, 190, you know, he's big. And he felt every bit of it. You know, that's the first time he felt much stronger than me. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So I really mastered weight cutting after that.
If you don't know how to do that, it's a whole art form, you know? That's crazy. John McCarthy, that's in those younger days too. Yeah. Before they even had the little guys.
Yep.
It's amazing that you fought Pat Miletich, who's one of the storied guys in the sport.
Yeah, he went on to be the 5-time champion. But not only that, at one point, there was only 5 weight classes, and he had 3 of the champions that he was coaching.
He was a monster coach to his gym, his whole system. That was in your 4th fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe a little early?
For sure.
For that guy?
He had 24 maybe, and I was my 4th, 5th, and 7th fight.
Isn't it so amazing how different it is from now to then? You know, like I've done a couple of these with Dean Thomas. Rob Emerson was one of them.
I watched him.
And we just talked about how different, like Rob's first fight was Jens Pulver.
Yep.
Jens Pulver was the UFC champion at the time. And people would jump into the UFC and out of the UFC and then come back. It's just remarkable. It's almost like mind-blowing to think that that's how it was back then.
Yeah, I got to fight for SEG and for Zuffa. Zuffa was their second show. was with Dana was my second go around with the UFC when I went back.
You went back, fought Gil Castillo in there. And how did that come about? They just called you and you're like, yeah, I'll do it?
I won. I'd been fighting King of the Cage and won the King of the Cage title. And then once I did that, me and Gil kind of had beef because he carved his name in the belt and then had kind of talked trash. And I beat Steve Berger.
He's also another real good fighter.
Yeah, he was my favorite fight, to be honest. Him and Gomi were my two favorite fights. And he's my only decision win of all my fights. And I beat him up pretty good, but the fight before that, they were sitting in the crowd, Berger and Gil and them kind of talking trash on me. I won, but they were like, what is this, amateur night? Look at all these people here for this guy. And I I'd been in Japan with Rampage for his Sakuraba fight, flew in on Monday, fought on Saturday. And so I wasn't, I was exhausted. Tracy Hess fought, I believe, he fought Joe Camacho that night. But we were both so gassed in the fights. Yeah. And I still armbarred the guy in the second round. But they were talking trash. Well, they were sitting next to my family while they were doing it.
Of course.
And they let me know. So then I fought Berger next, beat him for the belt, and then the UFC called and matched me up against Gil. Big guy, jacked, Cesar Gracie black belt. It was lost a decision. Again, wrestling, wrestling killed me.
That's hard if you're not brought up wrestling.
That's why my kids are brought up wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't do that, it's hard to catch up to those people that have been doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still having problems with those wrestlers from Eastern Europe,
there's just
Dagestanis.
Level after level after level.
Yeah, because they've been doing it since they were 4, And their idea of fun is eating a potato naked in a snowdrift outside. It's like, yeah, it's Saturday. Sweet. So,
and you hear DDP's coach in that video saying, they're not going to beat us with one thing. Well, that's the one thing that they can beat you with.
Well, and that one thing is pretty big.
Yeah, it's the key if you want to be a good striker or a good grappler. You need that one to get there or to keep it there.
Well, sometimes I don't know DDP's coach, right? Like he's obviously done great things. They've done great things together. Where there is no MMA, they created a world champion, and the guy beat a couple of very, very good fighters to get there. But sometimes you get that camera in front of you, and you wish you could just rewind it a little bit. Because
that's one of them.
Yeah, I would say I would be sad at myself if that would have been me. So let's talk about. We just talked a little bit of difference. Like your 4th fight, you can fight the world champion, right?
Right.
What other things are different from now to then? What things do you like versus what you don't like compared to the old days, modern days kind of thing?
I like the rules back then more than now. The organization, I guess, everything's more organized now. Fighters are treated a little bit more like professional athletes. Other than that, like, for example, I think they took knees to the head away, not for the danger, but because it forces people to play jiu-jitsu. Like if I'm in a shoot sprawl position and you start kneeing me in the head and I can't finish my takedown, I got to pull guard, right? If we're against the fence and my hand's on the mat and I'm got to play that game. If you're allowed to knee me there, I have to stand up or I've got to sit down. But either way, I've got to get my head away from your knees.
Yes.
And that forces the game that Dana doesn't want. I don't want, a lot of grappling, grappling's not bad, but a lot of guard play, and that, whether they admit it or not, that's what will lead to. No one's going to sit there and I guarantee knockouts by knees to the head go up by 5% because people just aren't going to sit there and get knocked out by knees to the head. They're going to sit or they're going to shoot. They're going to finish.
I've had this argument with people who was like, oh, it's too brutal. I'm like, you're not going to stay there, bro.
No, it's going to change the fight.
You're going to pull guard, and then you're going to lose fight because you're on your back. So I think it's going to expedite. I couldn't agree with you more. To hear you say that, that's been something that I bitch about all the time.
Yeah.
Because you can just survive there on your hands and knees, and nothing happens. Yeah. Anything, like you mentioned the professionalism, do you have any funny stories about traveling? What's your least favorite moment traveling to a fight? Did you have anything just terrible happen and you end up fighting anyway?
First of all, when I fought Pat the second time, the best man in his wedding was our referee.
Oh, shit.
Okay, that's no lie. Mark Hansen, stud.
but he was our referee. And Monty Cox goes, "You want to know who the judges are too? They're part of his family as well." But they weren't. But Noe Hernandez, who fought in the UFC back in the day, was one of the judges, and he was a fighter, and he was the only one that gave the fight to me. And it should have been. We should be 1-1-1, a draw, or if you want to be fair, 2-1, because the draw he would have won the draw.
Yeah.
It was my for the third or fourth fight, and we were in a square cage in Iowa outside in the sprinkling rain.
Oh, geez.
And it was wild, and I had guys like Royce Alger come smack me on the back and like, "Hang on there, sissy boy." And I was just like, "Where am I, man?" It was like, so people, the second time we fought in a bar that Pat bounced at, and his best man was referee. And people are blowing smoke in my face as I'm walking to the cage. And I was just like, "We're in Iowa. We're not in a different country. Like, come on."
That is amazing.
But yeah, I don't know. We fought in Juarez, Mexico, and had all of our stuff stolen. Didn't get paid. $4,000. Had all our bags and cameras and clothes stolen, and I lost my mind like you would expect me to. But after I was very loud, realized we're still in Juarez, Mexico.
Maybe you should just get out of there.
We end up all having to hustle to the border and leave to not get into worse issues than we already had. But crazy times with stuff like that. Fighting in Mexico, fought there twice, fought in Tijuana. A lot of.
It's nice that you don't have to worry about that, especially as you're going into your coaching your kids and they're doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like that's the last thing you want for some people you care about, right?
Yeah, and that's what's more organized. Luke's first fight in Bellator, we were the dark card, and they came in and said, "It's good for you. You gotta go through some rough stuff." So we got in the cage at midnight. His next fight with Bellator, same thing, got in the cage at midnight. And I was like, "Man, okay, we've been through it twice now. Can we?"
Yeah, we got our character now. We're ready. There was 3 Bellator fights in a row where we were the swing bout. We were scheduled at 4 p.m. and we went on at 11. Those I don't understand that in the modern day anymore. But that's one of those things I could never understand.
They came in, and I think it was his first, might have been his second, but they came in and said, "You're going to be right before the main card." I'm like, "Okay." So we're warming up. They get to us, "Hey, we're not going to get to. You're going to be on the post limbs." I'm like, "Okay." So he lays down, takes a nap. They come running back in. "Hey, if this fight ends by the second round, we're going to put you on the main card." So we jumped up, started warming up again. Goes a decision.
Never mind.
Lay back down again. So we warm up 4 times. And I was just like, "This is crazy. Like, just give us a time and let's do it."
So talk to me about now your transition to coaching, because you said before you loved coaching, and obviously you did. You were a blue belt. You opened your own school.
Yeah.
Had 60 students when you were still trying to fight, travel the world.
Yeah.
How has the transition been?
Like later now, or fighting and coaching?
Yeah, through it. Like obviously it's something that was in your windshield the whole time. Like this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. I definitely wanted to coach and own a gym and whatnot. I feel like I put too much pressure on myself fighting because of coaching. Like I was, and this could go back to my childhood. I have no idea, but I was always afraid that if I lost on Saturday, the gym would be empty on Monday.
Yeah.
No one's going to come to class, right? Because it's not the students fighting. It's me. I'm the owner. I'm the coach. I'm the everything at the gym. So I always had that pressure, like, I'm about to walk out to fight Antonio McKee, and as soon as they start announcing my name, I lean over and fill a bucket with puke, and then walked out and knocked him out. But I was just always had so much pressure, and it sucked because I liked fighting, but I did not like fighting as much professionally. It was just so much pressure. I feel like then compared to like fighting, getting in street fights or training and fighting now, or even going like with my kids now, it just has a different, there was so much more pressure for some reason. I feel like that the two things that hindered me were that and not branching out to get other people to train with during my career.
Yeah.
And then starting coaching, I just, I really enjoyed my fight team did really well, in California. I brought up a lot of really good guys and just enjoyed teaching and coaching and having guys like
for example, Jeremy Williams. Jeremy Williams would slap on a triangle that's not even on yet, and I'd start gathering the bucket and the water and shit to walk towards the gate because I knew that's a wrap. Like if he got a triangle on you, it's over. You know, so it's I had to have guys like that. It was just very cool to do. And then when I got to Texas, I still had a couple fights left. I fought in Pride one or two more times, and then I was done fighting. But I didn't say like I'm retired. I started teaching. I was making really good money coaching some motocross kids, strength conditioning stuff. And then a guy asked me if I wanted to open a gym. And I was like, you know, and he's all put up the money. And I've never had anybody put up money for a gym. And I was like, all right. So we open a gym, and within 15 minutes we're butting heads, and now I'm paying him back the money that he, because I never, you know, he had never done, he'd done a little bit of jiu-jitsu, but that's it. And he wanted to tell me how to do it. I was like, trust me, that's not how to do it. And then, you know, long story short, I bought him out. But my kids started training at this time. And I was like, well, I need to fight a couple more times so they can see me fight. And King of the Cage was coming to WinStar Casino, which was 45 minutes from our house. So I hit up Terry, for lack of better judgment, and said, hey, I want to fight on this card. So he puts it together, and I fought. My kids got to walk out, got to watch me fight.
Oh, how cool is that?
And then I fought again my last fight, and I said, he goes, I can't afford to pay you. And I said, don't pay me. I'm going to fight for free, but make me first fight of the night. And he goes, what? And I was like, yeah. So I fought first fight of the night for $0 for my last fight, and sold out. The place was packed with all my guys. By fight 2, it was empty. But it was, you know, I wanted my kids to see me fight, wanted my kids to see me win, and I won both of them. And they were training now, and I just dove headfirst into them. People then asked me, are you going to compete in jiu-jitsu now? And I was like, I don't know. Well, I end up, you know, winning Nogi Worlds 3 times after that, and Nogi Pans. But then I was like, my kids were doing it at that level now. So I stopped doing everything and focused on them. And here we are.
How do you feel like both kids are like remarkably successful, good, well-adjusted, great human beings? Obviously, I met them both and seen them both do their things. How do you think your childhood has affected how you coach and how you parent?
How I parent, for sure. You know, I'm able to kind of both, really, because of I got to be a professional athlete and a fighter and know what I would have changed, what I would have liked, you know, if someone would have done this for me, you know. So at the same time of trying not to make them soft, I've done everything I could to put them in the position for them to be successful, you know, and I didn't have that. And I treat them, you can ask Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott lived in my house for a year, and he still talks about it like his food was ready. You know, he had an ice bath, a cold plunge, hot tub, sauna. You know, his food was there. He had everything he needed to be a professional athlete. He's like, this is the first time in my entire career I feel like a professional athlete. I was like, well, you should. You know, if it's possible, you should. And so my kids have felt that since day one as well. And Tyler is a little different because he was gone for 6 years in college wrestling and became, you know, a little more independent. He had to. Lucas is independent on his own, but dependent as far as his career and training and all of that goes. But I do the same thing. Like their food is ready, you know, all week. I've got them on a first thing in the morning. We cold plunge, we eat, we go to practice, come back, the compression, you know, everything. We have everything in my house that you would possibly need. And so as far as my childhood leading into that, I just feel like childhood alone has made me very independent, you know, very self-motivated. Yeah. I had to be. And then leading into my career and teaching also had to be self-motivated. I didn't have anything. I think the biggest thing is to not have a plan B. I had no plan B.
Work.
Yeah. And I had kids, I got married. I had to make money. I had to be successful in one way or the other. Even if it was a grind forever, I was going to grind forever, you know. There's a says burn the fucking boats. At Tony Robbins' seminar, he had said, those who are either going to die or succeed tend to succeed.
Yeah.
And that was me. I was either going to die or I was going to succeed. So I had to succeed. And so I feel like that's led over into, my teaching, my coaching, my business. I didn't go to school for business, and now it's pretty successful. I've got a phenomenal assistant that's been with me for like 13 years, and she basically runs the show. Yeah. But she's also the one that, I try to get her to get on people so I don't have to, so I can just do my thing there. And
it's hard to be all the voices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's better to be on the mat, let somebody else teach the other things. But the thing that I was kind of getting at, and I like to hear you talk about, is that people that are in your position, they don't turn into good parents. Like, we often just repeat our history, And I think that's amazing and not noticed enough that you're able to overcome some of that. And like it built you to who you are, right? Like,
sure,
you are independent, you are super strong. But the love and support you show them, again, with the research, just looking at some of the pictures, and I know you can't tell anything from that, but I know you. I've been around you and your kids just kind of vicariously. But I already felt it, but it was remarkable to see your turnaround, or you're using your past to build your future. Has that been hard for you? Is just effortless?
Well, when you said some people don't turn out that way, or their family doesn't, I don't see how it doesn't, because I know what I went through. I know what I dealt with and from parents, and I would never want my kids to deal with that. So of course I'm not going to duplicate that. I'm going to be the opposite of that, And so, like I said, for the lack of or the fear of making them soft, fortunately they didn't turn out soft, but I gave them a lot of love. I tell them I love them every single day, probably 20 times a day, and they tell me back. And so that alone is enough for me. But I wanted the opposite for them that I had. I wanted to be stable, I wanted them to be in the same place, and then have a good relationship. When me and their mom got divorced, we didn't tell them for 2 years. We lived in the same house together for 2 years while we were divorced, because neither one of us wanted to tell them and have them fucking become bad kids, right. And they were great kids. And then one day we had played house together for 2 years. We'd gone on cruises, we had gone on vacations, whatever. And then one day we're like, all right, let's tell them it's time, please. And then we go in their room, they're watching a movie, and she tells them to push pause. So they push pause. And we said, hey, here's the thing. And we got divorced. I had already got an apartment closer to my gym, and they knew it. They were staying there. Sometimes we'd go there and like, oh, it's no big deal. And then finally we told them, and I was like, the only thing that's gonna be different is you're gonna have two houses. We still get along, and we got along fine and whatnot. And then Tyler maybe cried for like 2 minutes. Kind of not cried, but just like you could tell was upset. And like, you guys have any questions? And Luke's like, can we push play? I was like, we fucking waited 2 years for this?
Yeah. We could have done this before.
Yeah. And they've been fine, and her and I still get along. She goes to his fights, and we just were able to continue to raise them right, so that they, had a good upbringing, even though I didn't. She was a troublemaker as a kid too. She was brought up better parenting, but she was, a troublemaker as well. And we both just, we didn't even have to be really hard or disciplined on them.
Yeah.
We just kept everything,
did your thing,
routine in a line, and that's how it.
It's turned out great, man. Like, it's fun to see them succeed.
It's crazy.
I was just thinking about Tyler, and you mentioned this before. What happened in that last little bit of his last senior year at Little Rock at the NCAAs?
You're trying to raise my blood pressure?
Because I remember following him, and he was there, and he's doing well. And, I'm rooting for your guys, for sure, your sons, to do well.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he wasn't there, and I was kind of following it. So what happened with that?
So the end of the year before, the end of that year, he thought he was done. And he went to NCAAs. He got second at Pac-12s. They were taking 2. But in his finals match, his rib got destroyed. And by getting second place, third place can challenge you. We just beat third place 3 weeks before 5-0, but he literally couldn't do anything. So he goes out and gets challenged by him and loses. So then we put in for the at-large bid because they usually give out 8 across the nation.
Right.
And so he should have easily been there. He was 20, I think he was 21-4 on the season, had a phenomenal season. 3 of his losses were the same guy that just beat him in the finals.
Oh, jeez.
So he had really
Only had 2 losses.
Yeah, not many people beat him.
2 people.
And he was supposed to get the at-large bid. He was easily the guy to get it. And Carter Sirachi, who was the champion, didn't wrestle on the conference championships because he hurt something. So he just walked out and took the loss, and then went and he took the at-large bid.
Oh, God damn.
So Tyler didn't get to go. So he went to be a teammate, and while he's there, he's just like, he goes, I wish I had another year. And his coach goes, you have one more year. And he goes, no, I don't think I did. And he goes, no, you have one more year. And so they check with compliance, and then they check with Pac-12. And they said, you have one more year. You have one more year eligibility because of the COVID year. He's like, all right. So then he tells us, he takes a couple days because he was ready to start fighting and training or wrestle one more year. And it took him a couple days, and he goes, I'm gonna stay and wrestle one more year. I said, cool, awesome. Like, worst case scenario, you're in a D1 room for another year.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna hurt you.
No.
And he was very young. His first college wrestling match, he was 17 years old still. Dude was 26. He graduated as 23. He by the time he finished wrestling last year, he's still 23. And so he starts wrestling this season and ends up, his team wins a lot of big tournaments. He wins a lot of big matches and ends up winning Pac-12s.
Yeah, they had a great year this year, his team. Yeah.
And he wins Pac-12s, and Little Rock wins Pac-12s in Oregon. And so 1 week later is NCAA. So we go home. We're hanging out. He's back in Little Rock. I'm at home. And he doesn't tell me, but he hears chatter the night before from someone online says something. And he's like, what is this? And then the morning he messaged me, he goes, hey, something's up with my eligibility. I was like, what are you talking about? Well, the Oregon coach talks to somebody at Flow and leaks it to them so that they talk about it and make a big deal about it. Instead of reaching out to Tyler's coach, who they know, and saying, hey, what's up with his eligibility? He'd been certified through Pac-12s twice this season. He had been certified through his school and compliance, NCAAs. So there was no reason, like he's been paying rent on a house, all this. I traveled all over the planet and I have to drive everywhere. So I literally drove to Oregon, to everywhere, all over the planet. And this guy comes out and all of a sudden Flo's like, yeah, I don't see how he's eligible. He's wrestled. This is his 6th year. He already had his 5th year. And they're like, well, he didn't wrestle his 5th year. And there was 27 other athletes at NCAAs this year that was their 5th year. But they all wrestled the COVID year, and Tyler had knee surgery the COVID year and didn't wrestle. Well, turns out you had to wrestle the COVID year in order to get that year of eligibility. And he didn't. And so we're going to get into it now. So his coaches and everyone, compliance and the AD and everyone at the school tells him, go to Philadelphia, tells me to go. And we're going to file a waiver first, a COVID waiver. And then if that gets declined, we'll file an appeal. And then if that gets declined, we're going to file an injunction. Our attorneys are going to file an injunction, and you'll get to wrestle no matter what then, and we can deal with it on the back end.
Right.
I was like, okay. So one way or the other, he's wrestling. Cool. So I drive to Philly. We're there, and we've had a couple meetings in the room, and it comes down to, it took like 11 hours to decline the waiver. And then it took another 5 or 6 hours for them to decline the appeal. And I was like, okay, well now it's 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, night before. And he says, okay. I said, well, now the attorneys are going to get the injunction. They have to do it by 10 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. Cool. Well, then they came back to me and said, well, they're not going to file the injunction because they know they can't win the court on the backside. And I said, that wasn't part of the deal.
No.
I would have got my own attorney, but now it's 11 o'clock at night. And so we didn't get to file the injunction. I walked in. First of all, I was containing myself. We're sitting in a hotel room with the AD, the coach, the compliance, everyone's in the hotel, and Tyler. And I walked out and I hugged Tyler. He was in tears for like 30 seconds just as he realized it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And he put this whole year into going back and winning Pac-12s. He won. They won Pac-12s because of him. His score won Pac-12s
Shot
for them.
him over the top.
Yeah, and that's happened. It happened in 4 other tournaments that year that they lost later on. But he continued to show up on match day to go down there and train more of his teammates. And it was just, to me, it showed a huge character for him to not lose it, to still go down there, to still wrestle on the mat with them in the morning and warm them up and do his thing. But I was going to, and he wanted to sue Pac-12s, and NCAAs and go after that. And I had an attorney that wanted to do it. But when it would all been said and done, it would have come back home. And he didn't want to affect Little Rock.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's shitty, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, that's going to be something that he builds from. He's going to tell this story to his son, and it's going to give his son strength and character. That's terrible and wonderful at the same time.
Yeah.
He raised a good man.
He'll get that wonderful part later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hard times make good men.
Yeah.
And we hate to look at that in the moment. It's just horrible. But when something bad happens, we have choices to make after that, right? And it sounds like he made it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Pretty excited for him to fight.
Man, I'll tell you, he's a monster.
He's going to twist somebody up, I'll tell you what.
If you go through the list of names of people, you might not, I don't know if you follow wrestling, but Anthony Valencia, is Zahid's brother.
Yeah.
Kale Valencia's brother. Evan Wick, and all these top guys, the guy who won the NCAAs this year, Dean Hamidi.
Yeah.
His top game, he picked top, all the time and would ride out the best guys and get riding time points. He would ride out everybody, the best guys in the NCAAs. Even if he lost the matches, his top game is like unmatchable. And that's without locking hands. Now he can lock hands. So now he comes into Syndicate day one, right after season, and he goes with Lucas. He hasn't done jiu-jitsu in 6 years, but he was a special jiu-jitsu, like not to whatever. He was very very special growing up. He had 2 100-match win streaks. He's 293-9 in jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
and redeemed probably 7 of the 9 and just never saw the other 2 guys. He's crazy jiu-jitsu. But now he's got 6 years of D1 wrestling in his back pocket. And his second round after he gets done with Lucas is the guy who that video was flying around of him knocking out Kevin Lee. Well, he was good, big, solid Russian guy. And he grabbed Tyler, and Tyler just mauled him.
That's awesome.
Mauled him. And I'm like, oh, wow.
There'll be no flying knee video today, sir.
No, mauled him. And then I'm like, all right. And then, the next day, someone else, and the next day, and I'm just watching. I'm like, man, he is going to be a problem. He hasn't done a lot, and now the guy who's in the finals, Daniil.
Yeah.
They have phenomenal training rounds together. And Daniil was asking him to stay, when we were going home last time, just because he's, he doesn't even have one amateur fight yet, but he's doing really well with all these guys. So it's going to be very good, very exciting to watch him fight. And it was something Lucas needed. They were like this growing up and all through jiu-jitsu. anytime we'd walk into a tournament, the parents would be like, "There's Lucas and Tyler,"
Yeah.
It was, and then Tyler was gone. So it was a bummer, but Bellator and Tyler not coming home that one year, Bellator selling, was like a rough year on Lucas, and it showed in the cage twice. And, Tyler came back and his whole demeanor is different now, and they're back together again doing their thing. And,
good.
and so it's just been.
That's got to be great for your heart, too.
Oh, yeah.
See them together doing their thing.
Yeah.
What's the future hold for the Brennans?
I mean, they both fight October 10th. Lucas will be the main event. Tyler will be first or second on the card.
How you get him a fight?
Tyler?
Yeah.
It was easier than I thought. But, there's guys that'll just fight,
Yeah.
and the guys want to know that he's fighting. He's 1-0.
Is he a pro?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, no. Amateur fight.
I can't believe he'd fight him.
Yeah.
Watch out. They're going to watch YouTube the day before and then develop an appendix.
Yeah. I told the promoter we need to have someone on backup, or within a week or two out.
Sure.
But, yeah, he's I don't think a lot of people know his extensive background aside from the wrestling right now.
Yeah.
Like they did when Lucas first fought. They were just coming off of destroying everyone in jiu-jitsu for so long, and wrestling as well, but more jiu-jitsu at the time, and started fighting. And he went through 20 no's, but 6 guys right at the end said no to fight Lucas. And so Luke's first fight, he was fighting at 35. The guy was fighting at 25. They met at 30 on 4 days' notice because that guy had someone drop out too. So they fought at 30. And but it was always hard to get him fights.
Yeah,
it was either you're going to get someone like, what's your guy's name?
Bryce Meredith?
No. You're 45.
Ezra.
No, the guy that was in the UFC, Jiu-Jitsu freak.
Oh, Tenquinho.
Yeah, like we were getting offered guys like him for his second fight.
Yeah.
And so there was either guys like that are just crazy good, phenomenal. He'd already fought Garbrandt and all these other guys. Or there's guys that are just going to say yes to anybody,
Yeah.
And we try to get guys with winning records, So his first, I think 1 or 2 didn't, and then the next 13 guys have all been,
Good fighters.
Yeah, better and better and better each time.
Well, they're both phenomenal. I can't imagine how hard it would be to get Tyler fights because I've had some of them.
Yeah.
Somebody wrestles for 6 years at D1 school and has the success he had.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight that guy in our first fight. I already know what's going to happen.
Right.
We're going to need time. I want to fight him for money.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight him for fun.
Yeah, so the plan is they both fight October 10th. Lucas wins and goes to the UFC. Tyler wins and maybe has one more amateur fight or none, who knows, and get him fighting professionally and fast track him somewhere.
How about you? What do you got in plans for
them or I'm just coaching. I'm running my gym, coaching my guys, and really I've just gone in on them and their careers as much as possible just to kind of get them to.
Well,
get
you
them to the
certainly
top.
know the ins and outs. You know the bads and the goods for sure.
Yeah, that's been easy to navigate for me, which was cool.
You're in a sweet spot,
Yeah.
Like you built something remarkable from, I don't want to say nothing, but from definitely tough beginnings.
Yeah, I got a bunch of fighters in Texas, and just trying to get them fights and build a team out there. But it's hard to be out here training in a big room and not be there, but then also be building the team there when I'm there. And I don't want to build a team and leave training here, because it's going to take a good amount of top guys for me to not leave my gym for the boys,
Right.
For a while, I'm watching Lucas do things in the room. I was like, we have to leave. We have to go somewhere because I'm looking at my career. I'm like, trust me, you don't want to be the best guy in the room.
Yeah.
And especially by the amount that you are. Let's go. So yeah, that's how we ended up here.
That was a pretty cool story, man. When I again doing research for this, thinking back, we weren't that great of friends, but I always had just such a great amount of respect for you. We were
I always
friendly.
liked you a lot. Yeah, I did.
We weren't hanging out. I never got in any bar fights with you. I think I would have if we would have gone. You told me plenty of stories about those, but
it was, yeah.
But looking at you from a distance, but always rooting for you, I'm really, really impressed, and I'm happy for you, man. I feel like my heart swells watching you with your sons.
It's the same. I hadn't seen you in I don't know how many years, And then all of a sudden I'm looking in Ben Henderson's corner and I'm like, is that John Crouch? I was like, holy crap, bro.
Who would imagine that?
And I'm telling my kids, I'm like, I came up with that guy at the Gracie Academy.
I
Like,
used
me
to
and him
kick
were
that
buddies.
guy's ass every day.
I never said that. Ever. Are you sure I did?
I'm pretty sure.
But I was just so happy to see you doing that. And then in his corner and other people's corners, and then me and the boys, we came out to Phoenix to do a jiu-jitsu tournament and came by your gym. You weren't there, I don't think, but it was.
I have the picture still.
Yeah, it was just so cool to see your place. I'm like, man, how cool is that? And even cooler that he's not affiliated with the Gracies. Sorry.
I'm especially not. Like that's another story for another time. But.
Yeah, but like, for example, you came out to Texas one time to corner somebody, and me, you, and Royce saw each other. Royce is great.
Yeah.
You know, it was great to see him and whatever. It was
The politics that went around with that were unfortunate and kind of stilted some people's developments.
Yeah.
Like, I still think it's weird that I started doing MMA. It was just an accident. You know?
We're going to turn this into my podcast.
That'll lead us into the next one.
Okay.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. All love, and I really admire what you've done, and I'll be pulling for you and your kids forever and ever, man.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you,
It was awesome to see you.
All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.